We are
Didi
and Arma, and in our daily lives we support people on the path of self-liberation. We teach time-tested energy skills like Qigong, Tai Chi, internal alchemy, traditional nutrition and meditation.
We help people release stagnation, build energy, and become aligned with themselves and their purpose in life.
In this podcast, we share the methods, skills, and solutions that helped us, our students, and now hopefully you move forward.
Let's explore transformation together.
Today is part 2 of Introspection, and it's all about breaking patterns today.
Yeah. So last week we were talking about how to get our unconscious behavior, how to make that conscious.
Yeah, get it to the surface.
Yeah. So by journaling, by doing the black and white mirror, you talked a lot about how you did the black and white mirror. So what is interesting today is, what do you do with that information? Because now it's in your awareness, and now what?
Yeah, okay, so you have created this list, right? It's not only the black and the white mirror, where you have your weaknesses and you have your strength and you write them down, take a couple of weeks to really, really zoom into that. It's also from your meditation practice that you find, okay, these are the thoughts that are distracting me the most, right? It could be simple things. Sometimes it's like, I need to go shopping, or I have to pay this bill or whatever. But it can also be is like, okay, there's this repeated pattern. So that's also going on in this black and the white mirror list, right? Because you will see is like, okay, there is something here,
yeah,
right? I also get that in the categories. So, then you have made this list, and then what? Well, yeah. I had a couple of hundred things on my black mirror list. I'm like, what? This is too much. But then when I went through it again, I had to stop at a certain point, right? It's like you have to stop and say, okay, this is enough for now. And you go back to like 300 things written down, and you go through them, and then you start categorizing first.
Yeah. Because
there are not 300 different things there. If you bring them down, you can see there's categories of the same things, but they are represented in different kinds of behaviors, in different kinds of situations, circumstance. So if you can see that, and then you can bring it down to things like, okay, this is all about the short fuse. This is more of my anger thing. This is more about inconsistency, things like that. And then it becomes a little bit more of like, thank God it's not 300 things. It's actually 5 things, something like that. It's been a while. I thought things about 4 or 5 main topics that come out of that, right? And that gives you a chance to work with it.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you can actually see, okay, but that, of course, it's not, the behaviors we have is not per se what it is yet. You could say, okay, it's all about inconsistency.
Yeah.
But it's not about inconsistency. It's not about laziness or anything like that. You have to understand that there's something underneath that's creating frustration, inconsistency. Yeah. You cannot say, okay, this person is just lazy. No, that's not it. It's probably a lack of self-confidence, or, someone told this person year after year that they're worth nothing, or whatever, and they start talking in that way to themselves. Yeah. So that's the main thing. If you have these categories, then you can say, okay, what's underneath?
Yeah.
And I found that, right? So, and then you can say, I did another thing as well. You can also categorize in the elements. You can say, okay, which element is more out of balance than another element. So maybe for, the short fuse anger thing is all related to the fire element. And then maybe inconsistency that I also had was like, okay, that's more to do with the earth element. So that's going to help as well, because now you have a method for training, right?
Yeah.
And we can go into that a little bit deeper in a minute. Yeah. So it's all about categorizing first. Yeah. And then there's another categorizing method that says, okay, but what of all the things that you've written down needs attention most? Like a top 3, you could say, of things. And that really helped as well, because it can be quite overwhelming, right? You do that for a couple of weeks and you're like, it's pretty heavy. And then it's like, okay, but this brings it back to something I can actually oversee and work with.
Yeah. It's actually the same kind of process when, and I think that's with everything, but when I do the journaling, my food journal, and of course when I tell other people to do so, is that you see things through your food.
Yeah.
Like what kind of foods are you attracted to, or do you really dislike? And they also, with these insights, you get to these elements that are related to them.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, so maybe metal element. You don't like structures, or you obsessed with structure.
Right. It can be on
either
side of the
you want
thing,
to control everything. So there's something a metal element.
Yeah.
Then.
You see these patterns. Yeah.
But you also see that, and this is such a great, your body, your whole being is so beautiful, is that you see this kind of behavior back in your food. Because then you see, people, they love to eat a lot of spices and hot spices or
sugars, or a lot of sugar.
Yeah, but so what's related to that element?
Yeah.
Sugar is more the nurturing, you want to be safe, and if you've missed that feeling, there can be a kind of a go to all the sweets. And the kind of the thing that is for earth element is being a good mother to thyself.
Yeah.
So if you cannot be that good mother for yourself, well, what kind of behavior are you showing?
Yeah.
That is telling you, I'm not a good mother for myself.
Right.
Are you beating yourself up every day? Or so this is beautiful to get all these insights, but then, and that's
what we're talking about today,
breaking these patterns.
How to break them.
Yeah. And then the same thing as what you were telling is what has the most impact now?
Yeah. What's the first thing you're going to start with?
Yeah, because you do know that all the elements, they have an effect on each other.
Exactly.
So if you start with one, then that will have an effect. And
on all
everything.
Elements. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing in traditional Chinese medicine, if they said, if you don't know where to start, just start with your food.
Yeah.
Because that's the basics. That's the, it puts a layer. But then what we found out, food is so difficult to change if there is a lot of attachment to it.
And that's it.
I don't tell people, and I didn't do that myself, I don't tell people to change their diet at once, because that's setting up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to take one thing out and to see, okay, and what does that do? And that's why you journal, because now you see the effect. And just take one thing that you can do. Take that out and see what happens.
Exactly. And now, it's very interesting. If you have done your black and the white mirror, and then you see these food patterns and you align them, you take this one thing, and you take this other one thing you're going to start with. Can you see the correlation there?
Absolutely.
Of course you're going to see that.
Yeah.
Because subconsciously, you're going to support your own imbalance.
Yeah.
Because there's something underneath that you try to get out of it, but you're doing it in a way that's actually... You're doing something to actually support it.
Yeah.
And that's the mind bleep that's going on here, right? That's the thing you want to see, because if you see that you're supporting your own imbalance, which you really don't want, if you ask people, you don't want that. But why do you do it? It's unconscious.
Yeah.
You've been telling yourself, or other people have been telling you, like, you are this and that, and then you're like, okay, I don't really want that, but now I'm starting to believe that, and now I'm going to support that because that's my safety zone, and it doesn't feel good, but I'm going to remain there. How to break that?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how to break that.
Yeah, it's doing, it's experiencing.
Yeah.
And it's in the cycle, as we just said. It's holistic. So doing one thing different, even taking 2 conscious breath intakes and conscious breathing out every day makes a change.
Well, you could say the whole Qigong system is just, and Hermetics especially, is just built to change this. It's about, change. It's alchemy. So let's say, okay, out of the black and the white mirror, we found that, the thing is a lack of self-confidence. That's the thing that you will find is like, wait, that's underneath my behavior of my number one thing.
Yeah.
Right? So it expresses itself in inconsistency and anger and frustration, but it's not that. That's how it, presents itself, but underneath it is a lack of self-confidence. So this lack of self-confidence is stored in the astral body.
Yeah.
And this astral body is sort of your remembrance from the moment of conception, you could say, until now.
Yeah.
So everything that you've endured in your life or have experienced in your life is sort of stored there. So there's a memory.
Yeah.
Right? So what we have to do now is make sure that we're getting this self-confidence in there.
Yeah.
Right? But first we have to understand that we have to get this energy of the lack of self-confidence, get that to the surface. It's sort of you lift something out of that and then you change that and put it back.
Yeah.
It's like changing a part of your car.
Yeah.
I guess, right? It's okay. This is not working anymore. We're going to put a new thing in there. Yeah. And that's exactly the same thing. But what we have to understand, it's all energy. So we have to change the energy of that. Okay. So there's a couple of very powerful ways. One is affirmation.
I love that one.
Yeah. Right. So subconsciously, you've been telling yourself things.
Yeah.
Time after time after time after time after time.
Yeah.
And you start to believe that. But something is resisting it as well. So you're like, right? So an affirmation is very strong. You're going to tell yourself other things. You're going to tell yourself that you are already a master in self-confidence. Yeah. You have to, put it in the present tense in order to change it. If you say, okay, I'm going to be a master in self-confidence, I'm going to master that, future. Right? Yeah. I'm going to have self-confidence next year.
Yeah.
It's not going to work because, the thing is, you are already a master.
Yeah.
If you zone into the moment. The problem with the astral body, it's always going back and forth between the past and the present and the future. Yeah. It's constantly, it's like, oh, we have fear of this, what happened in the past, and then you're going to project it in the future, and you're like, oh, that's not going to have a good outcome, right? So we have to bring it back to say, okay, I'm already a master in this or that. And really say that out loud. But the more energetic we can make that, right, the better off we are. So that's the first thing. You could do that just by pore breathing, energy, and on every in-breath you say, I'm a master in ...
Yeah.
Right? You can fill in your own thing. But it has to be already the thing as it is now. Right? So self-confidence, there's a body language with that as well. Right? So we always have a physical aspect as well. Right? Yeah. So the whole vibe, while you're breathing there and you're breathing in self-confidence, I'm a master in confidence. How is that going to affect your body? How is that going to affect your energy? And how that's going to affect your mental state at that moment? Just repeat that for maybe a month and do that every morning and every night before you go to sleep. Yeah. That's a really strong method. But make it energetically. Right? So on every out breath, you can say, oh, I don't want this. So you can picture yourself as not having confidence and bring that back and backwards and just breathe that away from yourself. Yeah. And on every in breath, it's like, I'm a master in confidence. And you do that.
Yeah.
Maybe 40, 50 breaths, very conscious breaths, and breathe that towards yourself. And you're going to feel great instantly. And that's the whole thing. Instantly, right? So that's a very, very strong method to start with.
And that will start your day off so much differently.
Yeah.
Because now you want to make other choices for yourself. So, because you're confident.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want it, and this is important, if you do this just before you go to sleep, and you do that just when you've awoken, you're gonna have the greatest effect on your subconsciousness, right? So during your sleep, you're gonna sort of digest your day, and everything's getting stored and everything in your subconscious. So if you go into that state in your sleep, right? That's the way to get that into your subconscious behavior again.
Yeah.
Right? So when you wake up and you do the same thing, it's going to affect your day, right? So you're going to affect your day and you're going to affect your sleep as well. Self-talk, that's the thing. When a lot of people, when they start meditating and they start observing this rising and falling away of the thought patterns, they can see there's such a lot of negativity coming past, right?
Yeah.
It's negative self-talk. So I would suggest doing this aloud as well. You don't have to scream, right? But just make it profound for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And feel the change in your energy field on a vital level. You can already start there. And it's sort of breathing with a wish, you could say, right? You're wishing yourself there, to be this self-confident person. It's very, very strong.
Yeah, and we also do it when we... before we have our meal.
Absolutely.
To take it in different times in the day.
Yeah.
So
very consciously, what are you wishing for?
Yeah.
For that meal to do with you? Or another thing is, this is all based on a physical thing as well, right? So there's a couple of things you can do. Do daily stretches. Make sure that you have a stretch routine, because that's the support of all this, right? If people don't stretch, then there's too much contraction to make this change in the system. Yeah. Absolutely, have a trampoline. Make sure that you jump and release things out of you. Yeah. If you're more aware of this is the thing that's in me that I want to change. If you start stretching and bouncing, you give more room for that energy to go out of the system, so you can make the change easier. Remember that we have the 3 dantian. We have the center of our thinking, the center of our feeling in the middle, and then down we have the center of our our physical body. These are connected with energy, right? But what we call these the matrices. They keep them together, and they have a relationship, of course. But in most people, what happens, of course, in everyone, is that there's too much contraction because of protection and everything. Yeah. So we want to create space there for making this change. So having a stretch routine and a rebounding routine, and there's more methods, but these are very strong. Give space for that change to be able to
there's more
take
flow
place.
In your system.
It's all about creating this flow. So this is one method, right? And that's also, of course, for you, and for me as well, with our, our lifestyle and our food patterns, that you have a clear insight. Am I still supporting this negative behavior with my foods? Because a lot of what people are, have a little addictions to is actually doing that. I found that as well. Yeah. So all my sugar intake wasn't actually supporting my more relaxed self. No, it didn't. All this coffee didn't. All this all these spices, alcohol.
We never took much alcohol anyway, but it's not helping you. No. It's and this with so many things that if you listen to your system, it's like, how do I feel after a meal? Well, let's take a look at these 2 things that I had, right? I have the short fuse, and then on the other hand, I have inconsistency. Yeah. So if you eat like that, you're going to support this inconsistency, because you have high, low, high, low, high, very low. Yeah, and you see, and this is this pattern that you were brought up in, because you see that your grandmother, she used to love sugar, sweets, and
totally.
So she was totally into that.
My parents as well, my brothers as well.
And so, you've been brought up with sweets.
That's also conditioned.
It's very much conditioned. And now you had to break that pattern. And also, and I see that a lot with almost everyone is drinking coffee, because that's just normal in Holland anyway, to just drink coffee in the morning and in the afternoon. And and they made it kind of a trendy thing again.
I have my gallon of coffee in the morning, right?
Because I saw a shift, coffee to more tea.
Yeah.
And now it's back to all these different kind of coffees. But what it does is that it brings a lot of heat into your system.
Yeah.
And so if you already have a lot of heat in your system and there's more heat coming, you have no calm self anymore. So
true. So you're supporting your inconsistency completely. That's and it's like it's the perfect mirror. It's like, okay, now I can see that I'm supporting that. And then when you're conscious of that, of course you're going to make changes, right? But it's also going to support your short fuse, because if you have low energy, this energy can go through the cracks much easier, right? And now I can, because of this landscape has changed from a sort of alpine up and down thing to a nice hilly, a sort of sweet landscape. It doesn't have this how you say, this extreme. It's just gone. Right?
Actually, and that's what we're looking for in traditional Chinese medicine. We're not looking for extreme life. It's not just. We want to have a balanced life.
Yeah.
Which is, and I totally understand. Some people are like, oh no, that's not for me. I want to have it all kind of, going out there, live a life full of action and experiences.
Yeah, but how are they feeling on Sunday morning?
Yeah.
Right? When they wake up and look in the mirror. You don't want they don't show that on Instagram, right?
No, exactly. No, it's all, it's all based on, as we call, yang energy.
Yeah.
So it's all out there. It's just, and that's not part of life. Part of life is that you have a part that's yin, which is more focused inside, which is more rest. And then you have the active side.
Yep.
And you want to keep that all nice and balanced. And then absolutely life will throw you these extreme situations to you.
Yeah.
And then you have energy to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you live in these extremes all the time, and also I see it with people, if they love to do all these extreme sports and stuff, they are on the scale like they eat very extreme food as well. They're on the outside. They like the very cold and the very hot, because that's that will give you the most experience also in your food.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I tell them, no, go to the middle, which is for some people maybe a bit more boring.
Yeah.
But it will give you a nice layer. It will give you a good foundation.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of add some of these other things.
It should be supporting your stillness at a certain point, right? I think the thing we're longing for as human beings is this peace of mind and stillness.
Yeah.
And of course you can find it in extremer things, and but mostly it's short-lived, right? And what we're looking for is more of an equanimity state, right?
Yeah.
So another method, which is more on the astral body directly, is making the first transformation, slowing energy down, and then start breathing the elements in and out. Right, really slowing these elements down and bring stillness into the element, into the feeling of fire element, into the feeling of earth element. What you're doing there is creating a deep, profound stillness in these elements where they're going to balance out. Right, this is a really profound method as well. Yeah. So we're getting this balance in the middle, in the soul. This way, and this is just of course I'm describing the exercise now. I'm not really teaching it now, but this exercise is has the most profound effect.
And actually, when you're more in balance, when you see that I'm not living on the outside,
right?
You see that there is much more alignment in your life.
Yeah,
and that's what we want to go towards the alignment that we feel like we're connected to our life's purpose.
Yeah,
this is what we're here to do. But if you're not living your own life, if you live a very unconscious life, you're living someone else's life. You're not living your life.
You're living a picture.
Yeah.
And that could be a media picture, right? It's now it's hip to have my earbuds in, have my coffee, and right? But where's the
connection with yourself?
Yeah.
Where's the connection with your surroundings? Where is, why are you here?
Yeah.
Can you really go inside and listen to yourself and see, this brings me this kind of nice joyfulness, a full heart.
A full heart and being present.
Yeah.
Right? So the whole Qigong process is building, starting with a foundation of stillness in the physical body, saying a lot of stretching, so that we can create a strong foundation, a strong construction of the body that supports the spine, that supports this alignment of the three bodies, the thinking, the feeling, and the doing. And then we're going up in the astral body, creating this equanimity there, creating stillness in these elements, then creating a mental vacuity, if you will. That's the result of that. Okay, there is stillness, and getting this connection with the now. And now the spirit can come through. Because the spirit was always somewhere, playing second violin, you could say, right? It's like it sort of wants to come through, but you're so conditioned in these patterns that it doesn't have the chance to come through, right? So, but if we're starting with this Qigong process, starting to explore all these things and starting to create this stillness and this foundation, then something else happens. And when it's happening to you, you will know it. Yeah, it's very satisfying.
Yeah.
To be so present.
Step by step.
Yeah.
It's a step by step, and then slowly you get to this.
But the method is there. It's just there. This Qigong that we're teaching is not, and that I've learned, is not a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's actually a step-by-step process to get to this state.
And what you see is that maybe the first steps are slow, but then it's kind of gradually going quicker and quicker.
It's a wheel.
And it all builds. So
you have to get this wheel rolling.
Yeah, that's the first thing. You need to go in in another direction that you were in when you have all these unconscious patterns.
Absolutely. So for you listening now, I would suggest, start writing your own affirmation now. I'm a master in ... and get this talk into your system. You just get this positive and this empowering self-talk in you and make it energetic. So go to Vital Energy, breathe in through the pores, and picture yourself being a master at that, and surprise yourself.
Absolutely, as we did. Wow, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for listening as well.
Absolutely. So if you like this, then hopefully you would like and subscribe to our channel.
That will help our channel grow for sure. And have a very positive outcome this week. And the rest, of course. So
okay.
bye.